Hello, this is Gregory. You're live on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Gregory Morgan. Thank you very much for the great program.
My pleasure. How can I help you?
I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question regarding the last week you were talking about the word context.
Yes.
Today you are talking about the
accountability.
Surrounding us and accountability. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you explain the relationship between these two?
Sure.
Please?
Well, even accountability could be a context. Yes. My wife warned me when I went home and I told her what the show was about. She said, "You're going to have people wondering what you're talking about." So I'm glad you called. Thank you. First, let's talk about context just a little bit, okay, because we covered that pretty well last week, but now you're wondering what the relationship is between context and accountability? Is that your question?
Yes, and also if you can explain a little more about context, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so I like to use a visual image because people can get that a lot easier. So context is like let's say it's a bowl. Okay, or it could be a cup or a bowl. It's something that you declare. It doesn't exist, of course. It only exists in your speaking of it. I mean, like if we looked inside you, there would be no context, right? So it's a construct of language. And with language, you're able to say, for example, I've said in my own life, my life will be about honor and integrity and teaching this to men. Pretty simple. Right? But it's something bigger than my whole lifetime. Do you understand? It would take a whole lifetime and I'll never accomplish it. And yet it's the context for my life, and it gives my life meaning and purpose, and then everything that happens to me happens inside of that context. In other words, I hold it inside of a bowl called, well, I'm the one that said I wanted to live a life of honor and integrity. I'm the one that said that I was going to teach this to men. I'm the one that said that I would make that my business, you see? And so, whatever happens, I hold in other words, you have no control over the content of your life. Really, your life is happening, and the universe is a random and capricious place, right? And so things happen. You don't have any control if somebody runs into your car or steals something from you or lies to you or cheats from you or something like that. You don't have any control over that, really. You can't control other people, and it's not about controlling life, but you do have something to say. In other words, you do have some power about what your life is going to mean and how you're going to hold, if you will, the contents of your life. And then I use the example, if life was like water and your life was like a bowl, the water takes the shape of the bowl, whatever shape that is, and whatever size that is. If you have a cup, whatever shape that cup is, the water will take the shape of whatever is containing it. So a context is a mental, verbal, in language construct that you create by saying so, simply saying so. You have the power to say what your life's about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You absolutely have the power to declare with no evidence, no props. Do you think anybody's standing around with some kind of a sign or a prop saying Gregory Morgan is all about honor and integrity? No. There's no evidence for that. I just said so. I made it up because it means something to me. It gives my life purpose. You could say your life is about bringing beauty to the world, and then that can take whatever shape you decide that that's going to take. You see? There are certain pathways that have been acknowledged throughout history, throughout mankind. Beauty, truth, goodness. These are pathways, if you will, that lead to a higher state of consciousness. So you could say my life is about being kind. It can be as simple as that, you see. And it's about kindness. And wherever I go, I'm going to make sure that kindness is present. I'm going to teach kindness. I'm going to learn kindness. I'm going to look for kindness. Whenever it's not there, I'm going to bring it there personally. I personally will be accountable, which is now I'm leading to the connection between today's show and last week's show. You can declare anything you want, but if you're not accountable for it, then so what? It's very unlikely that it's going to go anywhere. So you can declare what your life's about. In other words, create a context for your life, for your business, for your family, for your health. You know, the context for my health is that I need to be healthy in order to live a long life, and because I got a lot of work to do, and I love the work. Right? I intend to make an impact on generations to come. So I better be healthy and stick around for a while. You know, because I don't think anybody's going to listen to some old, tired, decrepit man, you know, talking about honor and integrity. So I better stand up and make myself strong. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm healthy because, not just because I want to be, but also because I have a bigger purpose in my life that requires being in good health. Does that make sense?
Sure, but then what about this boundary that you are talking this time about?
Okay. Well, I want to go back to just completing that first question, because you just asked a third question. Okay. Let me complete answering your first question. What's the relationship between context and accountability? Let's stick with that for a minute. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The relationship between context and accountability is that without accountability, there is no transformation. Something transforms in a human being when they change from, when they make and it's not a change, it's a transformation. It's the difference. Change is more like an apple seed changing into an apple plant, which changes into an apple tree, which then grows apples and has apple seeds. That's change. Change is cyclical. It just goes. It goes in a cycle. There is cyclical change. Then there is fundamental change, which I call transformation, just to make the distinction. And that's where you change to something that you never were before, and you could never go back to being what you used to be. I call that transformation, where you actually become something new that you never were before, and you couldn't even explain it if you had to. Okay? Because it is beyond reason and logic, but there's a fundamental shift that changes inside a person, and they see the world differently, and their life has a newer meaning, and they are informed by a higher level of intelligence and a more sophisticated and refined beingness that allows them to see the world in an entirely different pace. And they could never see the other way again. In other words, there used to be, to use an example, the world used to be considered flat, and virtually everybody believed that. Okay? And then when some guy came along and said, no, it's not flat. In fact, it's round, and the sun doesn't go around the earth goes around the sun. They killed that guy because he was crazy. And they considered him dangerous. You see? So you have to be sometimes you can see things that others can't see. You got to be, now we're at a place where I don't think you'll get killed if you see things in a new and informed way. We've evolved as a race, but my point is that there is a way of knowing things that goes beyond any logical reason. This guy, he did not have any logical proof, very little logical proof that he could prove to show that the world was round. Back to this. Being accountable is the opportunity to declare the meaning of your life, to live a life of purpose rather than accident, and then to hold yourself accountable to make sure that happens. See, if I didn't hold myself accountable to make sure that what I declared, this honor and integrity and mastery thing that I declared that my life was about, then probably nothing would happen. Just probably nothing would happen. In fact, I can guarantee you nothing would happen. I'd probably be off doing something else right now. I wouldn't be here talking about it. But I've put together workshops. I've put together, I don't know, brochures, websites. I've written entire workshop manuals and put together exercises designed to make sure that men have the kind of insights and breakthroughs that I was talking about, so that they see the world in a new way and they don't want to ever go back to the old way they saw it. That's a transformation. It's a breakthrough in what's possible for humanity. And I'm willing to be accountable for that. If I wasn't willing to be accountable for it, then none of this stuff would happen anyhow. I mean, maybe somebody else would do it, but I don't know. So I said, I'll do that, and even if nobody shows up, I'm still going to keep doing that. So that's the distinction or the relationship between creating a context, which you have the right to do and the power to do, but so what if you're not accountable for the context that you create? So that's why I'm talking about accountability today. And when you asked me about the boundary conditions that I was talking about, you and I are conditioned from the time we're born to think certain things. Your religion told you that if your parents were this religion, now you're that religion. And you don't even know what that religion's about, until they start teaching you, right? But all of a sudden you're a Jew or a Muslim or a Baha'i or a Zoroastrian or a Christian or a something, and you had nothing to say about it. You just were born into that. That's an outwardly, in other words, that's a boundary condition that's imposed by others from the outside. Then you grow up thinking that that's the truth, so you don't even question it until maybe you get to be a teenager or an adult, and then you begin to question, well, I don't even know if I believe that or not. Some people don't even get that far. They never even questioned their parents' religion, which is simply a belief. It's a belief. Somebody believed it, and they said that's true, and then they told you that's true, and so now you believe it, but you didn't even question it. So everybody believed it was impossible to fly. Now we fly around the world in a matter of hours. Some things fly around the world in a matter of minutes. Okay, so there's things that we think are not possible, and by challenging them and being accountable for them and being willing to push beyond the boundary conditions. This is what I'm talking about, boundary conditions. The limited belief systems of the day, including and especially your own limited belief systems. Okay? When I first wanted to do these workshops that I'm talking about, it was about 20 years ago. And I had done something in a previous marriage that wasn't very honorable, and it had cost me a lot. It had cost me a marriage, it had cost me my self-respect, it had cost me a lot. And I thought, wow, but what I was surrounded by was a lot of people, men, who said, oh, everybody's done that, don't worry, it's like, so what, right? So what I saw was that there was an agreement that being dishonorable was okay. And there was hardly any, agreement, very little agreement about being honorable and having integrity. It was very certain people would agree with that was the way to be, and that you should practice that no matter what. So I saw that was missing in my own life. I saw that it was a boundary condition in my own thinking that I needed to question and push past. And I began to make something that the very first workshop or teaching that I had was called Manhood as Contribution. Because at the time, and it's still going on, you can see in all of our commercials and ads and stuff that mostly what you see nowadays is very popular to show a very smart, put-together, professional woman who knows all the answers, and a really kind of dumb, vulnerable, feminine man who's kind of like, duh, right, asking her questions and sort of being put down in a comical or disrespectful way so that he looks like a dummy. Have you seen that? Hello? Have you seen that in movies and commercials and so forth?
Yes.
Yeah. And how often do you see that there are men who are just honorable, who are just doing the right thing because that's the right thing to do? And mostly, if they do, it's because they have, you know, a bunch of guns and stuff, and so it's all about violence and stuff in the name of some kind of honor, right? So what if men just were honorable and had integrity and lived a life of mastery? The world would be a better place. Women would be happier and safer. Children would be happier and safer. Daughters would want to marry men like their fathers. You know, they would respect their fathers and want to find men like that. Sons would want to be like their fathers. In other words, what if men were just honorable and had integrity? So I began to explore that, and it was a boundary condition that I had. Like, you know, that's never going to happen was one of my thoughts. I had to push past that thought, which was to push past a boundary condition in my own thinking and be accountable for what I said I was going to do. You know, you could stand in front of thousands of people and talk about, you know, honor and integrity and men, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will even hear what you're talking about. And out of those 2 or 3, maybe 1 or 2 might come up afterwards and ask you a question like, I'd like to learn more about this, or I'd like to participate in this, or I'd like to do something about that. So am I willing to be accountable for this shall happen no matter what during my lifetime? Now, do I know that for certain? No, I don't. But am I willing to live my life in that way? Yes, I am. So now does that sort of cover those 3 distinctions for you? Context, being accountable, and being able to push past all boundary conditions, yours and others.
This is what I get from it. Correct me, please, if I'm wrong. I see that you were realizing through your own experience regarding, you know, honor and integrity to have some meaning that probably was a little different than everybody else was having, and then you just probably broke through that boundary. There was probably whatever other people were saying to you regarding how you should be. Then you took that as your own context, and you wanted to share it with others. But then if this is true, I was thinking, is this the meaning of creating the context?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like this context was just laying around and I found it, right? In other words, the context for your life will always and only be a creation. If you take on somebody else's, you know, you will still need to create it for yourself. Okay? Otherwise, no transformation. It'll just be you're copying something that you saw and heard, and then when the time for pushing beyond boundary conditions of your own thinking, your own limited resources, when that time comes, and it always does, you won't have any juice. You'll abandon it. You'll go, this is too hard, or forget about it. I didn't really believe that in the first place. Your mind will produce an excuse for you, and you'll find yourself living that excuse, but the excuse is only given to you by your boundary conditions because you didn't blow out your boundary conditions. You didn't push them back. You didn't say, this is my declaration. You can take on somebody else's purpose in life. You know, I've adopted many things from my teachers, you know, about making a difference. You know, one of my teachers is Werner Werhard. He said, I want to make a difference in the world. Okay? I want to make a difference in people's lives. I took that on at a very early age. It has taken different formats and different things, and later on in my life, when I saw that this was something that was missing in my gender, you know, that as a man, you know, there was a lack of teaching and encouragement you know, like, okay, you could get honor and stuff in the Army, right? If you go to the Marines or the Army or something like that, they'll teach you all about honor, but it's a specific brand of honor, isn't it? They teach you about honor and give you a gun, tell you to go kill those people over there. So I don't know. That's not my brand of honor, you see. You know, but for some people that summarizes the totality of what they believe is the honorable thing to do, you know, because those are the bad guys and we're the good guys. You know, I question that. That doesn't quite fit for me. Okay? So I created my own context for what I consider to be honor and integrity from my own meditations and observations and from living. I've practiced martial arts for many, many years, and I learned something about honor and integrity inside of the martial arts and the code of the samurai. They call it the code of Bushido, which is the code of honor that the samurais from feudal Japan lived by. I learned some things from that I mapped onto my life. I said, yes, that's good. I feel that too, you know. So there's no distinction about what is honor that everybody could declare is the truth. You have to define it in and of yourself every day. One guy, was it Walt Whitman, said honor cannot be found. In other words, if we look all over the place, you won't necessarily find something and go, oh, that's it right there. Honor cannot be found, but it can certainly be lost. You know when it's missing. You know when you've lost your honor. But what it is kind of difficult to define, and so that's okay with me. I don't need to write the book and have everybody agree, yeah, this is what honor is. Integrity, on the other word, is pretty black and white. Something either has integrity or it does not. And it's easy to see. It's easy to see when something has integrity and when something doesn't, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for integrity, it's easy to see. And we can actually find integrity in the world, and we can see when it's there and we can see when it's not. So I hope this has helped. I hope this made a difference for you. I appreciate your questions. They're very thoughtful questions, and so I appreciate the thinking that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for helping me understanding it better.
Well, I appreciate that you want to understand that. That's important, and I realize that sometimes these conversations can be very heady, you know, kind of more thinking than feeling. And so it's my purpose to have people be able to not only think through these distinctions, but to feel them in their heart and to live them in their life. If you can't feel it, you can't live it. You know, having a bunch of notes and intellectual understanding of things will make absolutely zero difference. You need to be able to feel it and try it on for yourself and map it onto your own life, and then and only then does it actually become your life. And then it starts to make a difference in the world, because you become a person of honor and integrity, a person that has the power of context and the ability to hold yourself accountable for what you said your life was going to be about. Then your life becomes one of choice rather than just having it happen to you. You actually get to say how it's going to go. Even when bad things happen, you get to say how it's going to turn out, and you begin to have what I call personal power. Personal power is what I call the speed in which what comes out of your mouth happens in the world. When you say this shall be, and then it starts happening right away, that's pretty powerful. Some people say this shall be, say they declare certain things, and they never happen. No power, no personal power. So personal power is a result. It's a direct result of having honor and integrity. That is the immediate outcome, is you begin to know that you have personal power, and you begin to make things happen in the world that you couldn't imagine before. Okay? I'm going to take a brief break.
One question is, when we want to go and find the context for our life,
you can't find it. There's no finding it. You create it out of nothing. You declare it. You can't find it. It's not out there somewhere. It's only in here. It's what you say it is. You can't find your context. It's what you say it is. It's anything you say it is.
So we just create it.
Standing on no evidence, with no props, no theatrical props, no evidence, you just declare that this is what your life's about, and then you be accountable for that.
So how could we...
I mean, you got to be intelligent. In other words, I'm a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I said I'm going to be a glamorous actress, that would be a stupid context, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just wouldn't. I mean, it might even be possible, but geez, why not do something I can actually do, you know, and be accountable for? You see? So you want to declare a context that's actually, it's informed by reason, but it can be totally unreasonable. To cause honor and integrity in the world in my lifetime and leave a legacy of honor for future generations, that's crazy. Who would declare that? It's totally unreasonable. Right? And yet I'm willing to be accountable for it. Why not? If I don't, who will? Right? Now, I'd rather have thousands and thousands of men saying that they'll be accountable for it. Then I'll know I got my job done. Got it? How you know you got your job done is you're no longer needed. That's how you know you got your job done with your kids, isn't it? They don't need you anymore. They got money, they got a house, they got family, they don't really need you, right? Now you're invited as an honored guest. That's when you know you got your job done. Okay? Listen, they've been telling me I need to take a break, and there's about 5 people on the line, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your calls. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, there's a couple of people that are on the line. I know that you've been on hold for a while. I apologize. That kind of went a little longer than I thought. I need to take a break. Yes? Okay. And so we'll be back in just a few minutes. You can either hold online or call right back after the break. Either way, I will take your call right away. Okay? Thank you.